All right, so now the other concept was you were talking about and eventually getting to was how those orders, the orders that get passed to the exchange. So the market maker says, I don't want this. Here you go exchange, Amex, here you go, NICE. So what happens then?
Well, what you get, and you can think about this, okay? Remember you're the retail guy and you sent the non-marketable order and it's resting there.
Right.
Okay, well you get to trade with that toxic order.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So you're the market maker.
You're now the market maker. Right.
You know, you're actually providing liquidity to that toxic, you know, to that toxic flow. All the cherry pick stuff you can't touch.
Right.
You're resting there. You know, why does every trade go against me?
Right.
Okay, but that's not it. You're not the only one there. You also have HFTs there.
Okay.
And here's where it gets quite interesting. HFTs and exchanges were kind of put in a difficult spot because internalization and dark pools pretty much took all of the obvious good order flow away. So what do you do if there's a significant adverse, what we call adverse selection bias to all that order flow that's hitting the exchanges? You basically have to build up a business on a you know, where you're the bottom feeder.
Right.
So how does an exchange create volume and market share and you know, come trade here where you're going to get run over by toxic orders that market makers flip onto the exchange? I mean, how can you even make a business out of that?
So what did they do?
What they did, and this is, you know, is that they invented, and it, you know, literally was in the early 2000s. There was certain types of strategies that looked like they could, in some manner, trade against toxic order flow. And the way they did it is they rapidly recycled trades so quickly before things could move so terribly against it. The problem is these strategies didn't make so much money. What they needed is they needed to have super high frequency and they needed to get ahead of all those non-marketable limit orders. They needed to cancel and pull the orders when that toxic order came in from the market.
Which we see all the time, guys.
You still can't trade against the toxic way. So basically the business model was, I can trade with you know, like the kind of, you know, orders that just on the cusp of being toxic. If I can just take all those and rapidly turn on my portfolio, I can make some money. I still don't want to trade with the.
But you still don't want to trade with the toxic.
The toxic. Okay. So what the HFTs were able to do, working very, very closely with the exchanges, was to tune the market structure and the rules and the order types and the order interfaces and everything was aligned in a quite meticulous manner to be able to run this strategy. And it was, you know, purpose, or the way it monetized order flow was getting to the top of the queue ahead of those retail guys who were resting there. Okay, and it would notice or try to detect when the market really was moving versus there was a big order coming in but it wouldn't move the market. So they needed to try to trade with orders that were kind of semi-toxic, but when the real order flow came in and moved the market, get out of the way and let all the other guys get run over. As a matter of fact, what was important to this particular strategy is it needed the other dummies on the order book to flip out risk on, through very complicated means, especially when the special order types came in. So basically, what I, again, in my experience, when I was hedging stock and trying to do this, I noticed, you know, that in essence, I was the market maker.
You became the market.
Because, you know, I was taking the other side of those orders that were sourcing liquidity. And really what was happening with a lot of those types of orders is they were coming in and basically trading ahead of me and literally flipping out at the same price against my order, which may sound a little bit, you know, how is that possible? That's what these order types are really, really good at. They allow you to create same price trading. And what these guys are doing is basically picking up the rebate. So I'm behind them. they're trading and picking up the rebate and then able to sell it back to me. Now, this is the mystery. Like, how did they sell to me and they got the rebate? Well, special order types have very interesting properties that allow this type of strange activity to happen.
All right, so to summarize everything that we just talked about, and number one, the order type stuff, we're going to do a whole nother segment on just the order types alone. But what I'm hearing from you is that the retail guy sends his order, and depending on what kind of an order it is, whether it's a marketable limit order, it either gets picked up by the market maker, who can choose to do with it as he pleases, or it gets sent to the exchanges, where essentially they have to battle it out with the HFT.
So when people say, hey, retail doesn't, deal with HFT, well, we all know that, like, earlier, names like BAC and Citigroup were just saturated with HFT. So if your order never went to an exchange and rested at the back of 50,000 shares of HFT volume, I mean, of course it did. So,
Indeed. So, I mean, the takeaway from this is that, yes, absolutely, a lot of entities are watching your flow. They are able to manipulate that flow to their advantage too, guys. So make sure you are aware of that. Thank you again for that whole explanation. We'll be back, guys. Thanks.